Good morning. We find ourselves almost at the end of the Christmas season, but as we make our way from last Sunday, the solemnity of the Epiphany, to this coming Sunday, the baptism of the Lord, we are celebrating yesterday and now today feasts of two specifically American saints. Yesterday was St. Elizabeth Ann Seton, and today's feast is the feast of St. John Neumann. Now, there are many good biographies written about both of these saints, but these two saints had a tremendous influence on Catholicism in general in the United States, and more specifically in two essential areas of Catholic life in the United States: Catholic schools and the parish devotion, which we know as 40 hours devotion, that Eucharistic devotion, which is quite beautiful, and which I'm urging all of our pastors to observe at least once a year. But let's go back and just look at these two saints. First, St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. We know she was born and raised in New York City to a very prominent and relatively wealthy Anglican family. She married, by everyone's estimation, a very fine man by the name of William Seton, who was a successful businessman. But his business failed, and at the same time, so did his physical health. And so they were the parents of, I think, 4 or 5 children. And so they moved, all of them moved to Italy for her husband's health. Unfortunately, not long after arriving in Italy, William Seton died. And Elizabeth and her family were befriended by this Catholic couple. And through this Catholic couple, Elizabeth began attending Mass with them, and it was through her attendance at Mass that she eventually converted to Catholicism with the rest of her family. And her younger son eventually became a priest in the United States. And 2 of her daughters, as we know, joined her in the apostolate, which she was requested to begin by Archbishop John Carroll, the first bishop of the Diocese of Baltimore in the United States, to establish Catholic schools, which she did. And in the process, she took other women, joined her, of course, and eventually she established the religious order of the Sisters of Charity of St. Joseph in the United States, and their apostolate was Catholic school. But the point of St. Elizabeth Ann Seton's life was the importance which she placed in her own life and instilled in her sisters, and that carried over right into their teaching in Catholic schools, the complete devotion to the Most Blessed Sacrament, first at Mass, and then in visits to the Blessed Sacrament in churches and chapels. And moving on from St. Elizabeth Ann Seton, we moved to St. John Neumann, who was an immigrant to the United States and came as a seminarian and was eventually ordained a priest, and then after being ordained a priest a few years, joined the Redemptorist order of priests, and he was based in the city of Philadelphia, and as I said, he was an exemplary parish priest, and he really began in Philadelphia, and it quickly spread elsewhere throughout the United States, and it has continued to flourish, that 40 hours Eucharistic devotion. And eventually, the Holy See named Father John Neumann Bishop of the Diocese of Philadelphia. It was not yet an archdiocese. And so these two saints, whose feasts we've celebrated back to back yesterday and today, have had a tremendous and lasting influence on Catholic life and Catholicism as we still live it today in the United States. And so it's well worth your while to get a good Lives of the Saints and read about the life of St. Elizabeth Ann Seton, the life of St. John Neumann. You won't be disappointed, and you'll certainly be edified by their stories of an Elizabeth Ann Seton's conversion and the rest of her life, working tirelessly to establish Catholic school education in our country, and St. John Neumann leaving his homeland and coming to a foreign country and finishing his studies for the priesthood, and then for the rest of his life serving the Catholic people of the United States in Philadelphia and beyond, and leaving to us that beautiful legacy of the 40 hours Eucharistic devotion. May the rest of our Christmas season be a time of peace and joy for you and many graces, and may God bless you all.